Do you know that with a limited budget and just 2 weeks, you can completely immerse yourself into a place where sacred and profane blend together in a sea of contrast? Let me share my brief yet intense journey to Northern India. I depart from Milan with New Delhi as my destination. I didn't plan all the details, so my idea is to travel to the north of India, specifically to visit Varanasi, the sacred city, see the Taj Mahal, and explore a bit of Rajasthan. For internal transfers, I decided to use trains, booking them as I go along. Ready to go? My destination is New Delhi. The welcome on the airplane is great, with themed headrests and a decent entertainment. They even have a pointer towards Mecca. We arrived in Abu Dhabi at sunset, and on the second flight, midnight strikes. After 13 hours, I finally reached Delhi's airport, known for its colorful and fanciful carpets. The modern airport welcomes me with open hands, giving me a sense of calm. However, the staff and the luggage carousels managed to confuse me with their mixed up luggage everywhere. After changing some rupees and getting an Indian SIM card, it's late at night and I take a taxi to my hotel. The taxi driver takes me on a wild goose chase, pretending not to find the way, even takes me to two fake tourist information centers, suggesting I must change hotels because it is in a dodgy area. Then he pretends to receive a call from accomplices who tell him my hotel is annoying and has COVID issues. Realizing I'm not falling for his tricks, the driver abandons me. I have no choice but to take a tuk-tuk, but the driver is uncooperative and leaves me 700 meters away from my final destination without internet or maps, and in the dead of night it takes me an hour to figure out to cross the large station tracks and reach my destination. The streets where my hotel is located makes me wonder if the taxi driver was right about the area. It's 5 a.m. when I finally reach my destination. I spend the next 2 hours telling my friends about the recent scam while wearing those fancy New Year's glasses. I'm ready to conclude that evening with some excellent Indian food. On New Year's Day, people usually stay home to recover from the party hangover. In contrast, in Delhi, they all decide to take a stroll simultaneously through the city center. I join the crowd and go to eat some Indian food at a quite famous chain where they serve flatbreads that resemble kites in size and shape, along with packaged sweets. There I meet an American guy, and we are the only Westerns in the place. He shares his story of wanting to become a Buddhist monk and traveling to Thailand in a few days. That's the beauty of solo travel. It allows you to meet extraordinary people. I can say that my adventure has a great start. For my only full day in Delhi, I decided to join a street food tour in the old town. I'm lucky to meet Stanley, an Indian guy who also speaks perfect Spanish and is an amazing guide. Indian cuisine is a journey into a world of extremes. Spices, sweets, colors, and aromas. The folklore and chaos of the old city make the experience even stronger. tour organized by Reality Tours and Travel supports an NGO. And on my last day, I will visit a slum with them. The next day, I wake up early to catch the high-speed Indian train, Vande Bharat Express from Delhi to Varanasi. The train is modern, spacious and comfortable, and they even provide plenty of food during the journey. The view from the window transports me to a timeless rural India, and I, as a traveler on the train, feel out of place amidst the villagers who own the tracks. We stop once because a cow blocks the way, and everyone goes to check what's happening. This time I managed to avoid scams, and in Varanasi, Shiva, the driver sent me by the hotel, is waiting for me. He is a real character who will accompany me around the city in the following days. Varanasi is one of the oldest cities in the world and is sacred to Hindus who must visit it at least once in their life. The city stretches along the bank of the Ganges and is characterized by the Ghats. These staircases descending to the river that allow ablutions. Millions of devotees come here to die because this is the only place in the world where one can break the eternal cycle of death and rebirth, the so-called samsara. There are 2 cremation ghats along the river. Most important one is called Manikarnika. The atmosphere is truly enchanting, and certain views remind one of the infernal realms. The sanctity of these rituals is incredible. The funeral pyres remain lit 24/7 and are surrounded by continuous work of the attendants. Another reason for pilgrimage is related to the Kashi Vishnava temple, dedicated to Shiva and one of the most important temples in Hindu religion. Every morning and evening, the folkloristic ritual of Ganga Aarti takes place, dedicated to the goddess Ganga, combining music and dance. Shiva acts as my guide, accompanying me around Varanasi and its surroundings in what we jokingly call his Ferrari. We visit the temple inside the university campus, and it's my first experience in a Hindu place of worship. We enter and we have to remove our shoes and walk on cold and wet floors. I have disinfectant with me, but here they use the holy water from the Ganges as a form of purification. Then we continue to a temple dedicated to the monkey god Hanuman, where there is no trace of monkey. The place is highly guarded due to a terrorist attack that occurred in 2006. We cross the bridge over the Ganges and reach Ramnagar Fort on the other bank, and this is a fortress on the river, the residence of the Maharaja, with a small museum inside and a beautiful view, although everything is quite run down. Inside there is also a temple where they bless me and mark my forehead. After having a lassi with Shiva, we face the traffic once again. We visit the Durga temple and finally we reach Sarnath. This location is about 10 kilometers from Varanasi and is famous for being the place of Buddha's first sermon. Here we find several temples, the Tibetan, Japanese, Chinese temples, and finally the main temple where the Buddha is represented with his 5 disciples. In Sarnath there are also several stupas, Buddhist monuments that I could only see from a distance. To conclude the excursion, we eat together at a roadside stall. The situation is a little bit peculiar, but the food is really good. Before the sunset, I go back to the Ghats and Shiva wants to show off his driving skill.
Professional driver.
Yeah.
Like Formula 1. Ferrari, Shiva Ferrari.
Shiva Ferrari.
I decide to take a boat to see the Ganga Aarti from the river. The small boat leaves much to be desired, but at least we have life jackets. Hundreds of boats gather near this spectacle, and suddenly our engine stops working for good. Fortunately, the show is long, and after a mass mobilization, we managed to restart the boat and continue. The view of the cremations and Shiva temple from the river is impressive. After a last snack, I'm ready to end the day. Varanasi is undoubtedly a truly special place where spirituality, life and death converge, leaving you with a feeling of being part of something greater. On my last day in Varanasi, I dedicate myself to experiences new things, starting with food and pan. These are betel leaves to chew, seasoned with various things that refresh your mouth, and they are delicious. Then I visit a barbershop where 2 brothers, Babu and Sonu, give me a new look. I take this opportunity to relax, stroll around and then visit the Golden Temple. It's a famous temple dedicated to Shiva, one of the most important in all of India. As a tourist, I had to pay to enter and had a guide who hurriedly showed me around, but I didn't appreciate it much. I enjoyed more this cream served in clay pots. And this temple where a monk dressed me up and made me recite prayers in Sanskrit. For dinner, my friends prepared a classic gourmet dish. And then I tasted some momo, Nepali dumplings that I found along the street. Finally, I witnessed my last Ganga Aarti, a tradition that had become a part of my days in Varanasi. On the following day, I depart at dawn and I find someone sleeping on the breakfast table in the hotel. This time the journey will be much longer, over 1,000 kilometers, and it will take me to Udaipur in Rajasthan. On paper is a 26-hour journey in carriages where the seats turn into 3-level bunk beds. Luckily, I have 3 funny guys as my neighbors who keep me company and with whom I share lunch. The landscape we pass through are unique, but when night comes, everyone goes to their own bed and the feeling is a bit claustrophobic. But despite some delays, after 28.5 hours, we finally arrive in Udaipur.
Ce l'abbiamo fatta.
Once I settle in, I realize that here not many people speak English, and I'm ready to explore this city. At first glance, it seems similar to what I visited before. At a certain point, the city overlooks an artificial lake, creating a stunning panorama. This is also the perfect scenario for wedding photo shoots, which I will see in many other places. Young couples about to get married, accompanied by a host of professional photographers, pose for hours seeking the perfect shot. The sunset over the lake is charming, and when the city lights up, the view is captivating. After following some devotees who rush in the Jagdish temple for the evening ritual, I returned to the hotel and I discovered that on Saturday night the corridors turn into a kind of disco.
Parla dagli altoparlanti del corridoio, ma non dagli ospiti, proprio l'hotel che mette la musica alta.
Una discoteca. Today I'm with Sonny, who will whisk me around on his motorbike through Udaipur and its surroundings. Sonny is a great guy and it's also his birthday today. He promised to celebrate together with a bottle of rum, so let's go. He takes me to revisit the Jagdish temple, and in the sunlight the details of the carving stands out even more, making it even more beautiful. Then we head to the city palace, a complex of buildings built over the centuries by different rulers. From here I take a boat to Jagmandir, a palace on a small island in the lake that served as the royal family's summer residence for centuries. Today it houses a hotel. This time the boat is much safer than the one in Varanasi, and when we arrived we found ourselves in luxury. Back on solid ground, Sonny takes me on his scooter to the fort on top of the hill, the Monsoon Palace. The urban route is quite characteristic. With its charming curves and far from the presence of monkeys with long tails, the palace is not particularly exciting and the view isn't great due to the haze. We set off again and decide to celebrate Sonny's birthday. He buys some bottles, bottle of rum, cola and chips. Before the toasts, he blesses the wall, and now we are ready. By the second glass, this is my face. Sonny wants to take me to a park around the lake, and he tells me that many movies have been filmed here. Along the way, he says that in the evening tigers come out of the forest and go to drink from the lake. I never liked felines, and I certainly hope not to encounter wild tigers. For now, it's early afternoon and I hope they arrive in a few hours. Along the roadside there are stalls preparing a peculiar specialty called Maggi. It's essentially instant noodles from the brand Maggi, and they serve them well spiced with the addition of fresh vegetables. I'm still digesting the peppers, but I have to admit that they were tasty. The place we reach on foot is truly panoramic. It's a hilly area surrounded by the lake, a perfect setting for pre-wedding photo shoots. Sonny also insists on taking me to his village, and to get there we cross very different landscapes from what we have seen so far. We travel through countryside roads and fields of vivid green, finally revealing the rural India, far from the chaos of the cities. The village is made up of a few houses and is much more orderly and clean than usual. We finally reach a dam where we continue the birthday celebrations. The calmness of this place contrasts with the poverty of its inhabitants, who, to make ends meet, are forced to move to the city's hustle. I also discovered that Sonny is actually a painter by trade, so I asked him to show me some of his work. We head to his studio, which is full of beautiful paintings. The excursion is practically over and Sonny takes me back to Udaipur. On the way back, I also gave him a message to thank him for his multiple pieces of advice. Perhaps this has been the most intense and diverse day so far in India, and Sonny has been a fantastic guide, allowing me to explore places very different from what I experienced in the first part of the trip. The alarm goes off at dawn and I'm ready for another train journey, this time to Jaipur. I find myself in a carriage full of dust.
C'è anche un po' di treno in questo acaro. Wow.
But the journey is considerably shorter than the previous one.
7 ore e 40, una passeggiata oggi.
I arrive in Jaipur, which is known as the Pink City. At a first glance, it seems a bit chaotic. After wandering around for a while, I find a nice park that seems like a cross between an escaped animal zoo and a scrapyard. In reality, there are many animals even inside, from dogs to monkeys, rats. There are also bats with wingspan like an albatross, and then more monkeys. The atmosphere is very relaxed and gentlemen playing cards seem to be enjoying themselves. On the way back, I encountered the magic meadows of Jaipur, and looking up at the sky, I discovered the locals' passion for kites. This morning I lean out on the balcony and despite the streets resembling a post-apocalyptic scene, I find a couple filming romantic scenes. The cinematic truths of Indian couples fascinate me more and more every day. The morning is dedicated to a very professional tour of Jaipur. I have a driver, a dedicated guide, and our first destination is Amber Fort, typical attraction for pre-wedding photo shots. It's a fortress located in Hammer, about 10 kilometers from the city. We reach the top by car, and on the way we also stop to visit a beautiful temple, while some tourists take the opportunity to ride poor elephants to reach the destination. The fort is imposing, and inside the Maharaja's palace is in good condition. The host has been generous with decoration and vibes, each living in a dedicated apartment within the same courtyard. From here we move to another photogenic destination, Taj Mahal, a charming marble building built in the center of an artificial lake. We continue and we have a small accident with a tuk-tuk. Thanks to the Indian driving style, it's a miracle that there are no collisions at every intersection. Fortunately, it's just a scratch and we can continue. I observe from the outside the most emblematic building of Jaipur, Taj Mahal, also known as the Palace of Wind and Breeze. It's characterized by 953 windows built so that the women of the royal family could observe street festivals without being seen from the outside. Moving closer, we find Jantar Mantar, an incredible open-air astronomical observatory consisting of enormous astronomical instruments built in stone. Then there is the City Palace, which is still the residence of the Maharaja today, housing museums and preserving the world's largest sterling silver vessels made to carry water from Ganges to England during one of its visits. In general, Jaipur is beautiful, but I wouldn't live there. In the afternoon, I relax and rest in a beautiful park. I got lost in the motorcycle spare parts market and accidentally touched the high-tension wires with my head. The next morning, I visit a museum and again I find myself on a photo shoot set at the entrance. The collection inside are diverse and there's even a pigeon in its own showcase. The workers here genuinely care about the safety, as you can see. In the afternoon, I take a train to Agra, the famous city for the Taj Mahal. I decide to try Indian luxury and buy a first-class ticket. The seats and everything else are identical to the other classes, but the real comfort and privacy are in a two-person berth. This time, my travel companion is quite reserved. At least he doesn't want me to listen to the best Indian TikTok videos, playing the music loud on his smartphone. I arrived in Agra late. I booked a private room in a hostel. I find myself in a very punk situation. I'm tired, but on the terrace, some guests organize a bonfire, and to greet me, they play Toto Cutugno, Italian singer, in the speakers. I have breakfast on the terrace, and despite the haze, I can still perceive the grandeur of the Taj Mahal, which I will visit later in the day. Hostels always bring together interesting and unlikely people, and this time is no exception. We have an Italian, Spanish girl named Esti, a Sweden guy, and most importantly, Vine, an Indian guy who will help us avoid typical tourist scams and troubles. In the morning, we visit the Red Fort, which gets its name from the red sandstone used in its construction. The complex is enormous and definitely worth a visit. After that, we head to the main reason for my stop in Agra, the Taj Mahal, one of the 7 wonders of the world. It's an indescribable sight. Building of unique beauty and extraordinary grandeur, which took 22 years to build. The Taj Mahal is a mausoleum built by Mughal emperor for his deceased wife, who died giving birth to their 14th child. Today we also have the chance to support ST in the creation of her content, and even Indian tourists recognize this potential and want to be captured with the Spanish YouTube star. Satisfied with our trip, we return to the hostel, and I find that by day the magic and punk atmosphere become even more spectacular. It's the classic Indian contrast, where everything is absurd and it couldn't be better. We visit a restaurant where we try the house specialty, biryani, a spiced rice dish with vegetables and meat. To end the day with a sweet note, we head to the temple of Peta to try Agra's typical dessert. Vine wants to make us try the pani puri, the most absurd thing in my life to eat. The ras malai on the other end is definitely better. Finally, we taste the pita, a very strange dessert made from white pumpkin pulp. The sensation is like eating a car air freshener. From what I've seen, Agra is an open-air construction site, chaotic, but its monuments, especially the Taj Mahal, are a must-see in person at least once in a lifetime. Indian train stations sometimes turn into a playground for monkeys, and today my train is delayed by 4 hours, so I enjoy the spectacle offered by these animals.
Treno da Agra Delhi che arriva ora.
In my carriage there is also a magic show. The magician makes a quintal of cabbage appear from under the seats. I arrive in Delhi and it's already evening. For the first time I tried the pedal power tuk-tuk and in few minutes I reached Connaught Place. I decided to splurge and spend the budget of my entire trip on my last auto. To balance it out, I have dinner at Burger King where I find an excellent vegetarian burger for a few rupees. Delhi, which seemed dirty and chaotic when I arrived 2 weeks ago, now appears to be the center of Oslo compared to other cities I visited. In the morning I visited the Lotus Temple, one of the 9 temples of the Baha'i faith in the world. The Baha'i faith originated in Iran in 18th century and promotes the unity of humanity and harmony among different faiths. The building is stunning and I recommend spending a few minutes inside to contemplate its grandeur. I also recommend visiting the nearby museum which tells the story of this religion. In the afternoon, I experienced one of the most touching moments of my journey, a visit to Sanjay Colony Islam, organized by the guys from Reality Tours and Travel. The term slum is used to refer to shanty towns. Sanjay Colony, founded in the 50s, is currently a densely populated area, mainly inhabited by people from less affluent social classes. It's a fascinating place to observe how the inhabitants are busy with various occupations. There are women sorting textile factory waste, a doctor, schools, and small shops. Despite the poverty, the people here are warm and friendly, and I feel truly touched by their happiness and contentment with their lives. The visit to the slum becomes the most touching moment of my trip. The alleys are crowded with children playing, and upon seeing people like me, so different from them, they don't hesitate to greet, smile, and give high fives, displaying pure happiness in their eyes despite their extreme conditions. If there's one thing to do in India is to venture into these realities with non-judgmental eyes and try to empathize for even just a moment in a world so different from ours, but so rich in humanity. The time has come to return home, and for a few coins I take an ultra-modern metro to the airport. Only now I realize that I've experienced something unique that I will carry with me forever. As I rewind the memories, I relive these 2 weeks in a world so different and distant, where nothing can be more contrasting from what I'm used to. Yet I've seen in the eyes of the people the beauty of living in the present moment. India is not to be judged, it's to be lived. Now that I'm back home, I cannot wait to return to India.